Before we dive into today's conversation, I have some very exciting news to share. I'm absolutely thrilled to introduce the Intimacy Inquiry's very first sponsor, the incredible team behind Le Wand Massager. Le Wand has become a go-to name for powerful, reliable pleasure, empowering people to explore their bodies with confidence, curiosity and care. And because this partnership means something special, they're offering listeners of this podcast 25% off all full-priced items. Just head to lewandmassager.com and use the code INTIMACY25 at checkout.
Le Wand is really about elevating one of the most iconic sex toys that nobody considers a sex toy, the wand, right? The back massager. And to sort of own the fact that it is a sex toy, to make it feel sexy.
So just use the code INTIMACY25 for 25% off all full-price merchandise. And who knows where your design might take you. That's lewandmassager.com and INTIMACY25. And now, let's dive into my conversation with Alicia Sinclair, Le Wand's founder and CEO, to hear about how this powerful brand came to be. Alicia Sinclair is a certified sex educator, sexuality coach, and award-winning entrepreneur with over 2 decades of experience revolutionizing the sexual wellness industry. The founder of groundbreaking brands like Vibe, Le Wand, and The Cowgirl, Alicia has made it her mission to close cultural and commercial gaps around pleasure, stigma, and accessibility. She is also an instructor at Sex Education University and an advocate for ethical adult industry practices, having worked with the FBI and Department of Justice Child Protection Policy. Known for blending high-end innovation with inclusive design, Alicia continues to lead the conversation on sex education, pleasure tech through public speaking, product development, and mentorship. And she's been incredibly kind and agreed to join us today. So thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us. I just wanted to start, I guess, at the sort of beginning. So it's not necessarily the first thing people think about when they leave your school or college to go into the sexual wellness industry. What was it that drew you to the field, and how did your career evolve over the time you've been doing this?
Well, quite honestly, I began in the industry as a bit of a, like I slipped on a banana peel. I answered an ad on Craigslist. That's like literally how old I am. I got out of college. I moved down to Los Angeles where my sister was, and was looking for a job and saw this ad in Craigslist that said, they were looking for a receptionist for someone who was, for a company, and they were looking for someone open-minded. And I was like, yeah, I'm open-minded. And I thought, it's going to be crystals or yoga or, something like that.
Okay.
I was like, oh, open-minded. Yeah, sure. And then I arrived, and it was 170,000 square foot, adult novelties manufacturer. And listen, I liked the people, and they paid better than most. And I was like, okay, I'll take this. At the time I thought maybe I'll go back to college and get a master's degree. And I had already applied to go to USC. And so it is like, that was kind of where my mind was at. But as I got into the work, I really liked it. And if I'm being, pretty honest, it was easy for me to excel because at that time there weren't a lot of women, very, very few women. And there weren't a lot of like well-educated folks in that industry. Now is vastly different. But so I found it as like a sort of almost like easy for me to, climb pretty quickly and, go from receptionist to an administrative assistant and then an executive assistant. Then I wanted to get into sales, which is really where, sort of my specialty is. Whatever. I started as an account manager, and then I took my manager's job, and then I was, recruited as a VP of sales for another company. That company was acquired. Long story short, they let basically all of the team go. And then I became, sort of like open to some new opportunities, and folks reached out to me to start a company. So this is like this is a 15-year timeline.
Yeah.
And through that timeline, just little by little, I found that I really loved the industry, the people. I gained more and more passion. I like the people in industry. I really, obviously was very passionate about sex education and learning more and being able to make an impact in the industry. And gets, to bottom line it, I just found a way. I was very passionate in a way to make a positive impact And that ability to be positive and to feel like I was part of a movement and part of something important, I think, kind of like fueled the passion and made me really want to be a part of this long term. I mean, this is 23 years for me now.
Yeah, I guess if you didn't enjoy it, you wouldn't be doing it anymore. Yeah. Or
Truly,
I
yeah.
guess you could have been a receptionist anywhere, but then once you got into it and figured out, hey, this is an industry that sort of can see some real growth. And I guess 20 years ago, it was not amateur, but certainly wasn't as professional as it is today. Oh, the scale
No, yeah, kind of like the marijuana industry is right
Yeah.
now. It's
Yeah.
sort of developing. Yeah, there's a lot of like young entrepreneurs, not
Mhm.
sort of large corporations. So
Yeah. Mm.
similar.
And when you did your training, so you trained under Dr. Patty Britton, and you now teach, how have you seen sort of sex coaching evolving? And I mean, people are, I think, more interested in sexual wellness and mental health now. So you see more demand as people's expectations change about what sex coaching all talks about.
I think in general, from a business to business standpoint, I can see that retailers
Mhm.
appreciate and find it very important for a sex toy manufacturer to understand the product that they've developed and
Yeah.
that it works properly and that they
Mhm.
understand its use cases and can educate staff, and therefore the staff can educate consumers on how the
Yeah.
products can be used. So I don't think it's so simple as buying a product in China and putting it in a box and selling it. Certainly there are what I would say like sort of triple X stores
Mhm.
that's maybe their customer base, but I think for the larger retail chains, it is important for you to understand the quality of your product and how it works and how to sell it by teaching people how to use it properly.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I guess it's a big spectrum in the industry, that there are very cheap, not necessarily very well made or very well performing products, and you move through to products like yours that are more expensive but far better value, and they almost, it's like a handbag. Yes, you can buy a handbag for $20, buy a handbag for $20,000. It still carries things in it, but you're going to get one that's just has better packaging, a better story. It does things just better. So what do you think it was that drew you into the product side and starting brands like Vibe and The Wand and Cowgirl? What do you think drew you to that?
It was sort of a natural progression when you're in sales and you see when you're in retailers and retail staff and buyers are commenting about products that where there's a gap,
Mhm.
products that aren't manufactured well. You pick up information. It becomes one of those things where you supply it back to maybe the company you work for. And I just became a part of. I was just sort of naturally good at it. I became part of the development process. Like, hey, I heard this. Maybe if we change the product and did this, and then I got started being recruited to go with the buying team to overseas to China and Taiwan, and like working with the factories directly in that way while still doing sales. It sort of empowered my ability to sell really well because I understood the origin of products and how they're made, and so then from that point, I just became this sort of like, I guess, like a dual role of, becoming a developer and a salesperson. And it sort of progressed throughout my career into becoming more and more linked with, the art and production teams. In addition to like, I've built a lot of relationships through my experience, and working with, customers is still sort of core to my role.
It's really interesting. I used to be a consultant hundreds of years ago, and I think one of the biggest things we always learn, and some people never really learned it, was how important it is to listen. And so often I've been out with a sort of sales guy or a sales girl in the consulting team that are trying to pitch something and trying to sell this thing or whatever, anything I can find. And they come out and might have won the pitch or not. And it's also, did you not hear them say they want us to do implementation as well? Did you not hear them say they want us to scale this and things? No, we only. And that's the thing, is, so it is so important. Like you said, you obviously hear those cues, and retailers are saying, "Oh, this has been a great sale, actually." Whereas somebody else is happy to get the order for 100 units or whatever. You're thinking, actually, if we did this other thing, there's 1,000 units there. And if they like it, maybe someone else
Right.
doesn't like it. And that's, I still think that's a massive gap in people's skill set. And you say it's kind of natural. I think to a lot of people, they're very natural talkers, but they just don't listen. And I think there's so many missed opportunities in so many walks of life by not actually hearing what the customer's saying to you. Because two of you can go to a meeting and come out and you go, oh, were we in the same meeting? Yeah.
Right.
All those things. It's like, it's yeah. So and it's very hard to train somebody because I think you either are naturally skilled and can get better at it, or it's something you've got to focus on so hard it sort of disrupts the natural flow for you are. But no, it just reminded me of when I was going out and trying to get people to listen to things and stuff. It's it was fascinating. So when you are thinking about launching a new product, what does the creative process look like? How do you handle it from the sort of start to finish?
So there's, different types of products that
Mhm.
fill different roles.
Yeah.
So say we're building a product from ideation from the ground up, like take our
Yeah.
rimming plug. We're
Mhm.
like, wouldn't it be cool if there was a butt plug, that stimulated the anal sphincter, which has tons of nerve endings, and no other product really does that, and then vibrates, and then we add a remote control because it's pretty hard to like control functions, when you have a butt plug inside, so just thinking about so there's that type of process where
Uh-huh.
we're really looking at, an idea and building out an idea. And that would, that process starts with a line drawing, uh, you know, uh, and then it becomes a 3D render, and then it goes into like a hand sampling process, and then a production sample, and then it gets tested by product sample. So there's a pretty long process. I'd say on average, product development takes about 2 years
Okay.
on average. And then there's also, you know, the items that just fill a gap.
Mhm.
So say, for example, we are developing, training sets.
Yeah.
And we're like, so like maybe we're looking at that from the perspective of like, the sweet spot is this price point, and we develop into that. So
Yeah.
where there's a gap in the marketplace, and that has a different process where it's like, what materials do we use that are the highest quality, body safe, and what can we add to like upgrade this product? I think that's always a key part of our development process is
Yeah.
how can we make this better
Mhm.
than what else is out there? How can we add an additional function, or, make it, for example, to make this training set harness compatible and have a suction cup? How
Uh-huh.
can we, like how these, so just adding in functionality that wasn't already there.
Mm. I guess, yeah, for some of the products, when you think, oh, actually, it'd be quite good to have it in a travel size or a different color, whatever, then that's just a product extension as opposed to some new products altogether. So how do you go about the customer testing process? Do you have a panel of people that test products? Is it, because I guess you've got to test them with people to figure out if it works. A different type of people. Do you have volunteers that do it?
Sure. And that usually I would say first starts with our sales team
Okay.
or our internal team. You have to, find a match for every product, right? Not everyone uses butt plugs and not everyone uses wands. So you have to sort of find the right person for the job. But that's, I'd say step one is like we have to have a human within our team test it, provide feedback. And then we would go to say, maybe we usually do outreach. So we have a group of educators, you know, former consumers that we know have, and then that would be outreach to that group. And then
Yeah.
that goes through like a kind of small sample testing, 5 to 10 people. And we would solicit feedback from that. Typically we'll show a couple buyers that are in the marketplace. We do want feedback from the people that are ultimately going to buy and place the products in their stores.
Mhm.
And then it would go to a trade show, and then, maybe a prototype at a trade show,
Mhm.
and we may gather more feedback from that, and, learn from, where either it's a runoff success, or we're like, oh, people don't like this color, or this price point is too high, or this,
Yeah.
we could have, yeah. So I think there's just a lot of like that listening piece of it.
Mhm.
Like we've really ingrained that into our team is like, and customer service emails, like you just listen and you continue to make the products better, function well. Like our wand, for example, is in its eighth iteration, and you would never really know it other than the fact that every time it goes to development, it goes to manufacturing through like a new round of, um, you know, there's just we want it a little quieter, or
Yeah.
the lowest setting's too high.
Mhm.
So there's just little tweaks that can be continued to be made to the products to make them better.
How challenging is it to protect the IP? Because a lot of obviously a lot of manufacturers make a wand-like product. and it's obviously much easier to copy than to do it yourself. So first of all, how do you and can you protect the IP? Now, secondly, how hard is it to try and distinguish yourself in the marketplace, to explain why yours is $200 versus this one at $20? You don't want to talk about the competition at all, but it's how do you sort of sell those features of the more expensive, more exclusive product?
Sure. So on the IP front, it's pretty hard to register, any type of intellectual property at this point. Basically, what we would do is design trademarks.
Okay.
So like for our rimming plug has a design trademark. Clearly, all of our logos,
Yeah.
any of our important naming has. But I mean, quite honestly, we've had a significant number of people, copy either the functionality of our items or literally the colors. So we have like, for our rose gold petite wand, which is
Yeah.
an extremely popular, right, smaller size, but that's, I mean, many, and even our original wands, we came out with these like kind of gray and white gold, and many people have used us as inspiration. But I think, the important part is the second part of it, like, yes, we can sue, and we have, and it's a lengthy and expensive process.
Yeah.
So, and ultimately, you kind of, end with, a royalty on the products, and they're in the market regardless. So I think what we've learned from that is it's most important to have strong relationships with your customers. And that might be not only with your retailers, but also with the end consumer. And how we achieve that is by making really high quality products. You can buy something that looks like our product, but it does not function the same. And we know that because we've been in business for 10 years and our defective rates are less than 1%. And we don't have customers complaining about how well our products work. The kind of only thing we ever really hear is about price point. And we've spent basically all of 2025 and will continue to do so, developing into a mid to low price point range, to deliver quality products at lower price points. So I think that also will go away, with a certain amount of, time. People will see us as not only a developer of unique, own designs that, sort of change a category, but also to develop into, simple silicone butt plugs or, small keychain size wands or, like different price points and categories. So we can, have a larger group of folks at our table.
And I think the good thing about your website is that it's very informative, and you use photographs of, well, what look like very real, normal people. Not all, they're all models, but they're not all, 6-pack and sort of 40 double D and all that sort of stuff. So it looks like people actually, hey, I use this product, so why not I use it as well? And that's, I thought I really liked that when I looked at the website. The other thing, do you have a sort of, I would assume you have loyal customers, as in end users. Do you have a sort of loyalty program, or do you have things that people can sort of buy into on a sort of monthly basis and get new products delivered to them? Do you have like a members club and stuff? Do you have those sort of things?
We do on our own websites.
Yeah.
And then we support them through other distributor or through other customers' websites. So retailers in store. We do a lot of programs with retail staff. So where we do like points programs so that they can earn products themselves. And we do a lot of gifting. So that, my like very solid belief, and I think this has been proven in pretty much every scenario and every company I've worked for is, personal experience is your best sales pitch. If you have an item and you love it, it's very easy to sell it. Yeah. So we want people to try our products because they work really well, and that's something that I think helps empower them to sell our line. There's a lot of trust built into that.
It's funny. I used to be a sports buyer. I remember I was buying tennis rackets, and the manufacturers would sort of take us out to sort of play with the rackets, test the rackets, give us a racket. Their sales was always far higher than anybody else. It wasn't because they gave us a racket; it was just because we'd used it and we knew how it played, and we could talk about it. And rather than saying, this is a great racket, it's the one that Nadal uses. You think, but I'm selling it to a sort of a 70-year-old or sort of lady. Why should you want that? But talking about how I use the racket, how the lady over there used it, how my kids used it, it's such a it's such an obvious thing to do, but not that many companies do it. That they want just to sell, and that's it. They cut the sales team, and they don't talk about training and stuff and examination about what it is. Because, like I said, there are different products in the market, and being able to talk to somebody that's used it or know somebody that's used it, it's just far better sales pitch than you're ever going to get from reading the corporate literature. Far better.
Yeah, the unboxing experience,
Yes.
the actual, all of it. It's all part of the experience of being a premium brand. And that, when I say premium, I mean, it doesn't have to be just about price point.
Yeah.
We can be a superior line and still sell an item, that's $50.
Mm. Do you get more challenges trying to market toys for anal play or riding machines, things that maybe are not necessarily something that a beginner would sort of start off with, or do you find it's just the same, whatever toy you have, it's a similar sort of conversation?
Well, the wand, which is, our, vibrator brand, that is the easiest line to market and sell. It's much easier to find partnerships and sold in many what you would call mainstream retailers. So, Goop, Urban Outfitters, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
B-Vibe is tricky. B-Vibe is tricky for a number of reasons. And I think, the first and ultimate reason would be the diversity of people that can use butt plugs and the way that we've marketed them, right?
Mhm.
So we use many different size bodies, as you mentioned. Many, we have a lot of age ranges that we feature. We show lots of different colors of bodies. And then obviously, there's the lots of different, sexual orientations. So because we've, chosen to be such an inclusive and also feature, such diverse people, I think that automatically, especially on social media, our algorithms are, for some reason, it does feel highly censored versus Luand, which hasn't had as many issues. Cowgirl, yes, it's like it's a writing style sex machine. I think it like sort of ends up in the adult content bucket, where it just is a little harder to market because for some reason people just associate it with that.
As I think with the one type vibrator, as always to me, is when you see retailers selling versions of them, calling them sort of massager. Yeah. Who's massaging themselves with? Well, you are massaging yourself, but not it's not your shoulders, is it?
Well, it's funny you say that, because we've actually considered marketing some of the products as massagers. We came out the gate pretty loud and proud. We were like, we are a vibrator. Like, don't let anyone fool you. These aren't being used as back massagers. And what's really interesting is how hard it is to market them as masturbation tools, and how saying that they're massagers, wink, wink, allows us into more doors. And so it is sort of a sad reality that self-censoring yourself allows you, right, more opportunity.
Yeah. And I guess even with some of the anal toys, sort of a prostate massager, also a pruning things, it just I mean, everybody knows, for goodness sake, what it is, but it is literally that sort of slightly cheeky wink wink. We know what you're using it for, but we'll call it massager just to make sure it's something you're happy sort of buying or stocking as a retailer. But it's you just want to get it in as many people's hands as you can, really. So I do think
Truly
it feels more accessible than it used to do. And I think women and men are more, hopefully, getting better at owning their pleasure. Although I talked to somebody a few weeks ago, was a somatic coach, and she was saying it's just, and she asked me, I said, look, have you sort of spent an hour just exploring your own body? But nobody else said, just, gosh, I don't know, really. Because you hit puberty, you start masturbating, you sort of do it very quickly because somebody else is in the house, you're scared of the door opening or whatever. Oh my God, with a vibrator, oh my God, is it too loud? It sounds like a pneumatic drill. Oh my goodness, it's so loud. But you don't actually spend time figuring out what you like until perhaps you're older and more comfortable in your own skin and stuff. So I think with this, it's sort of, well, what do I like? And is it okay? And yeah, it's good. And I know it's very passé now, but I remember when Charlotte used the rabbit vibrator on Sex and the City, I remember the sort of stats of sales sort of leapt up because of that, because it was just seen as sort of mainstream again. And that's what you need to become, is almost yeah, your sexual pleasure is your sexual wellness, which is incredibly connected to your mental well-being and your overall health. And I wonder what you thought about how we help individuals. Yes, I'm not just asking just you to do it, but how do we help individuals recognize that actually yeah, sex is about sexual wellness, and it's about making sure you're happy and you're getting checked out and you're talking to people and you're having therapy and you're trying things and you're not, we try and take away some of the stigma and the embarrassment maybe that people have.
Well, I think there's a piece around permission, right?
Okay.
Like giving people permission. That's like kind of like going back to my, sex education.
Yeah.
But, most people feel like they have to hide it, right? They have to do it really fast. Like there's something wrong inherently. Obviously there's, thousands of years of religion that point towards that. But yeah, and even look at the way a lot of sex toys are marketed, right? They're comedic, they're jokes, they're not taken seriously. Person who, is found with them is, outed. So there's like all of this, social stigma that's also been, implanted in our minds. So I think there's a part of it that's just, giving yourself permission, like, hey, this is, as I always say, it's like, you have all these nerve endings, they feel really good. Like what are we really talking about here, But I think that's, maybe a more logical way to look at it. When you're dealing with a lot of stigma, that could take time to, work through that, especially depending on how your parents, educated you around that. But I think from a, kind of looping it back to a product standpoint, there's a lot of permission giving built into our products, right? The language that we use.
Yeah.
When you open one of our boxes, it's like, congratulations, you've purchased a Vivi product. Like, the pleasure is yours. Like there's a lot of like text and language, and that's why we say we're very experience based. So it's true, you are ultimately buying a product, and maybe you don't value these things in the same way we do, or even see the intent of what we're doing. But our educational manual, they're always, they're non-gendered, they're non-orientation based. They're really meant to be a safe place for everybody, and you wouldn't know it unless you were looking for it, So there's, I think, a lot of, secrets that I wouldn't say secrets. It's not meant to be a secret, but it is meant to empower everybody's experiences with our products. And as you say, that's the education sections on our website. The way they read, they're very welcoming to whomever. There's no shame in anything that we've built. There's nothing that would feel garish or uncomfortable. It's quite the opposite. Most of us, a lot of the it's like how to have conversations about this, like why do we consider these things shameful? Like, so there is I think from our end, we spent a lot of time trying to empower the experience for people.
I think, exactly what you said about religion and society. When we were sort of 3 and 4 years old, we had our hands down our pants because we didn't know why it felt good. We just did, and our parents would sort of smack our hands and tell us it was dirty. And it's not a great start in your sort of journey of sex life.
Yeah.
I do think a lot of men still have this outdated view that it's almost that, well, I'm not being replaced by a sex toy, and it's how to sort of bring it almost, some people might want to use it completely in private, and it's absolutely down to them, but to bring it into the relationship, as opposed to, and see what excitement it can bring both of you, because it can, and that's the thing about men not feeling that, oh my gosh, I'm being replaced, or I can't have my partner achieve orgasm. It's just Jesus, and that's okay. It's surely you're better off empowering what gives her joy and pleasure than holding her back from that, really. So I think, some of those conversations as well, I think, are super important.
Yeah, that's a big one. But I think if you look at a sex toy as a wingman,
absolutely.
An ends to a mean, as I would say. Like it's my sort of simple way of looking at it is like you can brush your teeth manually, or you can use an electric toothbrush. They both accomplish the same thing.
They do. One with more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. One is quicker. One maybe easier on your hands. One maybe like cleans a little deeper. One's not better than the other, right? Like a dentist won't. But and also there's a lot of missed opportunity if you look at a vibrator as something only your, wife or your female partner uses, or if something you're gonna miss the opportunity of it being used on you, because vibration feels good on all bodies. It feels great on a penis. It feels great, at the base of testicles. It feels great on the perineum, right? Reaching the outer prostate. It feels great for like a warm up before sex, and that's, as I would say something that's, as I've gotten older, what I've noticed and, what I've talked about anecdotally with a lot of other friends, it takes a lot longer to shut your mind down. You need that like kind of like warm up period of time to get your body sort of like, takes a little more than it used to. So I think, sex toys can be all part of this foreplay experience, and also kind of like, I don't know, take some of the work off your plate, if you will, like vibrators get it done really quickly, and it is fun. It's also fun to watch your partner masturbate. It's fun to watch your partner use a sex toy. It's fun to explore what parts of the body it feels good in. It's fun to put it on their nipples while you're having sex with them. Like, you got to be open-minded and think about the different ways that you can use it instead of thinking of it as, something that's going to replace you.
And I do have a suspicion that a lot of people's first sex toy is their electric toothbrush. Yes. The vibrating.
Thank you.
This vibrating. You sort of do teeth on your nipples. Oh, it feels quite nice. Yeah, yes.
They have a separate toothbrush head.
Yes, thank you for the rest of them come with different heads. Yeah, at least turn it right. Yes, that's, yeah. Just almost change the subject completely is, I know you did a lot of work, which I'm really fascinated by. So I talked to a lot of people in the porn industry about this, in particular, some of the issues that Pornhub had and still have. When you work with the FBI and Department of Justice, and I know when Pornhub first came out, there certainly wasn't verification of age, etc., and they had to end up taking down almost 3/4 of their content. And I wondered how important it is that we have that rules are followed. And I know we're getting more towards having age verification of users, which some people are very for, some people are very against. I wonder where you stood on that, because porn isn't going anywhere. I mean, Pornhub gets 4 billion hits a month. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's massive, and there's some beautiful porn out there. I interviewed Inka Winters, who does feminist women-led porn. It's stunning, cinematically it's beautiful. It's hardcore porn. It's whatever you want. It's anal sex, it's straight sex, whatever. But it's just filmed differently. So I just wondered how you felt about age restrictions, verifications, access to porn. That's a massive question, but again, it's
question. And with a lot of different, I would say, like, restricting porn in this way, I do understand the intent of it, and I do think at a base level, if I'm thinking about parents, I do believe that maybe the intentions are good. I don't want to say for all, because our industry has been, so heavily censored and so misunderstood for so long, especially in the content arena, which, lives, parallel to us. But I think it does really two things, right? It pushes people back into stores, into buying DVDs and VHSs. So that's like kind of one route. But I think it does something also really scary, which is it pushes it towards a black, kind of a seedier part of the internet, a dark part of the internet, if you will. And then, that might, what was, somebody just searching for like, kind of like regular porn is now watching a different type of pornography. I think sometimes, the road to hell is paved with the best intentions. And I don't know the answer to that big question, but I do think that there's going to be some scary repercussions based on it. And I think we're already starting to see it. I have talked to retailers that have said they've started to see uptick in DVD sales again. And also, if you're familiar with like arcades, right? So where people can come in and they're like coin. So these like kind of live in person, what I would consider sort of old school and outdated methods are coming back. So it's like you say, it's not going away. It will always be there. I mean, who knows? You might have a magazine resurgence, or, maybe, so there's so many different results of you can't keep pornography down. You just can't. It's just not possible.
It's been around since people could first draw. I mean, people think it's maybe a newish fad, but all the changes the delivery mechanism from sort of drawings
Right.
on ancient. There's some incredibly erotic drawings coming out of ancient Greece or ancient Japan or ancient Rome. Yeah, with everything you can possibly imagine that's there today. It's just that now you can see it in virtual reality or on a Blu-ray or whatever, and that's the thing. So I can remember as a youngster, as a teen, I guess, my first access to porn was a magazine. It's oh gosh, somebody's older brother or whatever, and it's it's a naked woman. And then, but I think of what sort of 12 and 13-year-old kids can sort of see now, and the 13, 14, 15-year-old kids, they really are not stupid. They're going to get around any of those age restrictions, and it's certainly not stopped. Because the drinking law in the UK is 18. I can't think of anybody in the UK that had their first drink at 18. It just doesn't.
Right. Yeah.
But like it does push you down that route of a bit like marijuana when it was a little bit seedier. Whereas now, when I was in Chicago last year, it's like, my goodness, these are beautiful boutique stores,
Yeah.
and they were fabulous, and it just takes away the stigma, and I think it just encourages people to be better educated. So they could explain the benefits of gummies versus this versus that versus this. Whereas
Yeah.
if you're just getting it randomly, you know what you're getting, and like say you just end up in a place that you don't necessarily want to be. So I do hope they get it right, really.
Yeah. Like
There's
you
no-
end up in a non-regulated or maybe unsafe
Yeah,
place, or maybe if you're lucky, you buy a DVD player and you watch it,
yeah,
on a DVD. But
yeah.
it's an evolving. I mean, I guess this is just history repeating itself, right? We're going
Absolutely.
through this,
Yeah.
this phase of censorship, which was it's a little sad because I felt 2018, 2019, we were really in an amazing place with social media. We were like, wow, here's a place where we can market ourselves again.
Yeah.
Here's a place where we can attract followers. And now, it's like we're kind of back to square one. There's trucks driving on the freeway advertising sex stores. I mean, it's just hilarious. Here we are, like we're back here again, and it didn't take very long.
And anything there's no physical harm that is linked to sex toys. Where you think about cigarettes, alcohol, firearms, all those things. It's just different what we're allowed to advertise and what we're not allowed to advertise. Yeah, it's very helpful.
Yeah.
So what part of the role do you enjoy most now? Is it getting out with customers? Is it just talking more broadly? Is it presenting things? Is it still a product? What gets you?
I mean, at this point, it really ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
I guess depending on what I think right now, if I'm being really honest, I'm really enjoying sales. It's been a minute since I've enjoyed it. We went through COVID.
Yeah.
That was just a whole mind, like journey of, went through COVID, and, also during that time I had a daughter. So there was a large part of my life that I was really much happier sort of behind the scenes. And that would, be more on, the management, the development, the marketing, like logistics side of things. So I was really enjoying that for a while. And now I've sort of come back around to really liking, that in-person event, face-to-face interacting with people, and I'm feeling energized by it. So that's where I'm at, right now.
There's a big difference, isn't there, between going to see somebody with a great product and going to see them with not a great product. I've done both. It's so wonderful when you go there and the buyer wants to see you, and they turn up on time, they have a meeting, and they bring other people in to talk about it, and they try it out, they test it out, whatever the product is, versus those where you go there with a product, the buyer turns up half an hour late, the buyer with comes up and turns up, and you say, oh my goodness, why am I even trying to do this? And it doesn't, things never sell themselves, but it's much easier to sell a product that has history, has something that the buyer can talk about with their customers that they can sell. So I think you're in a good place. What are the next sets of products that you're excited about? Either Pepsi or Secret?
I mean, not so secret. I mean, we've shown them at trade shows. So we have like I said, we've really been focusing this year on meeting customers where they're at.
Yep.
And, making, I guess, to put it simply, wallet friendly items.
Yep.
Products that are more approachable from a budget standpoint, because that's what we heard all, pretty much for the past couple of years. People are on a budget in a way that they really weren't before. They're just being more mindful of their money. So that's been our exercise as a brand that typically makes $100 plus products, to really think about how we can innovate and create quality products in the $100 and below category. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. What you'll see from us, a little bit, B-Vibe is having a year. I'll say that. We really recognize that we have a lot of high tech products.
Yeah.
And there's just a huge opportunity. And we just recently really released harness sets. And the response to that was so incredible. Just people really happy with the quality of the products, the price point. So that, that being sort of again, something we didn't traditionally make, but was very within our category range, pegging and sort of strap-on products being something that people use anally. And let's see, what else am I really excited about? We developed, our IPX8 wand. This is a fully water submersible wand. So most wands are, maybe shower proof or have, you could drop it in the bath, but it's not really meant to be used underwater. So we developed an IPX8 wand called the dive wand, and that is doing phenomenally well. It's doing so well. And it's great. It's like a medium size, lower price point than our original one with more functions. So that product I'm really proud of. It was a long time in development, and we were like, is there a place for this? And the response has been I see that becoming our number one selling item.
Wow.
Knocking out the rose gold Le Wand Petite, which has owned the number one spot for a long time. And I think for B-Vibe, developing into larger products, people want them.
Yes.
And there isn't many companies that really make those products any longer. So, or unless they're very niche or high end or super expensive. So again, our exercise is, how can we make this super high quality product and deliver it at a price point that is sort of, as we say, wallet friendly. And then, so I think it's more about, and then Cowgirl is very exciting. We came out with a saddle that's, a $350 price point, down from our original big, $1,500, writing style machine. So it's not one for one. It is very different, but, being able to deliver something that is, offers similar sales propositions, right? It's slightly different technologies, but, can, satisfy a sort of mass consumer versus sort of the niche. And we've done that, I think, over and over and over again throughout each of the product lines, and it'll continue to roll out throughout the year.
Do you ever do collabs with other? Because it is a luxury product. You can imagine a Gucci branded wand, or a high-end exclusive boutique hotel branded and things. Do you ever do collabs with big brands?
We've reached out to them. What typically happens in that arena is that they end up going and developing their own private label product, or white label it. So it ends up, unfortunately not being something. But I think, those, as we, maybe as this category continues to develop, and become, now there's products in Target and products in Walmart and products in CVS and Boots, and, they're kind of becoming, more available. Perhaps that will shift and change. I think it will take more ability from a marketing standpoint, for us to bring value to those brands.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be a little bit larger, is my kind of overall.
Yeah, it's a balance, isn't it? Because the clear risk is you go to them with the idea, think, "Well, this is great. Yeah, we'll do that," and they go off and do it themselves. So
And they just do it themselves.
the
Yeah.
idea, and
Well, that's what we used to sell a lot of wands on Goop, and then Goop came out with their own. So we're like, wow.
Well, this is it. They got all the data, and they know exactly who's buying
Right.
who's doing it. So that's what Amazon do. But they crap all the data and then work out their own products. But
Exactly.
yeah, it's a balance, isn't it, between getting it out there to many people, but then not wanting them to do it themselves. But Yeah. The good thing is your products get very good PR, very good publicity, always talked about in a very positive, in terms of how they're made, and exactly as you said, it's very, very different than going into a triple X store, coming out something in a brown paper bag. It's a
Yeah.
different experience. And I think that's a big thing, isn't it? You see them on YouTube all the time, the unboxing video. People want to open something up, and like I say, if it's congratulations, and that's lovely. It's just a tiny thing, but it's such a nice part of, rather than opening a box and it's sort of rattling around inside and it just sort of falls out when you open it. Yeah, it's a very different experience. Just getting across the value of the experience, I guess.
Definitely.
So do you have a favorite toy?
Yes, I guess just an old school kind of girl. I really like our original wand is still my favorite product. I think the one I have is, 8-year-old,
It must be time to upgrade to the, is it
I
IPX8?
don't know, I really should. I have a dive wand, but it's medium size and I like the larger. I like the larger one. It's a little bit, weight equals rumble, and I like rumble, so I like the big original size wand. Although I have a dive, and when we first came out with it, I was like, saying to my husband, I'm like, let's introduce this one to the, but yeah, it didn't have enough of the like deep rumble that I love. So I went back to my original. Yeah. But we mess around we play with different products, like especially like, tapping is like a new thing. That's very hard I shouldn't say it's very hard for me. I'm very reluctant to try something new when something already works for me.
Yeah.
So tapping came out. I was like, oh, let's see about this. And then I was like, oh, tapping.
What's tapping? Sorry, what?
Oh, it's like, instead of just vibration, it's actually literally like, movement of
Okay, yeah.
part of tapping. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like we just actually, the 3 new products we came out with Cowgirl this year, I think they'll launch in July, all feature this tapping technology. And so that was like a fun, like, okay, you can teach an old dog new tricks, like I was pretty excited.
Yeah, if you have the same meal every night, you get bored, don't you? No matter how much you might enjoy steak or hummus or Japanese, whatever, it's okay. It's nice to have Chinese or a salad or something different, really. Yeah.
Yep.
So how do you obviously put a lot of time and effort into what you're doing. You invested a lot of yourself in the products, in the relationships with buyers, in traveling, in just working just super hard, really. So how do you look after your own mental and physical well-being? How do you sort of switch off?
I mean, it just ultimately becomes about prioritizing it. I do not have my work email on my phone, and that's like something I always, disclaim to people. It's like, sorry, it's just about my mental health. Like if it's there and I feel like it has to be done and I see it, like I can't rest. So I have to remove the disturbance, if you will. And so I haven't had my work email on my phone for over 10 years. And I think it's like, the way I structure my day, it's like work, it's like whatever, family time, work, then it's, I'm doing this, I exercise and work. And then, like I just,
Yeah.
and it did. And I prioritize, by most important thing. And, I don't know. I like working. So it doesn't, it doesn't particularly feel like, it's not that it's not effort, because it's definitely a lot of effort. But it doesn't feel exhausting. It's like, I like my coworkers. We've built a team of people that are enjoyable to work with, that are all equally as passionate as I am. And it's a joy to be here. So I think that's all like, like attracts like. And we surrounded ourselves with good people, and our customers, we have good experiences with our customers. We take care of them.
Yeah.
And, like, I feel like that all of this, like, sort of like, build this relationship with work that's very healthy and positive. Like my coworkers, as we say this about sales, and I mean this in the nicest way, but like you train your customers. You don't respond to them in 10 minutes, because then they will always expect you to respond to them in 10 minutes.
Yes, that's
Right.
a great point. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's and this is an example that you use throughout every part of your life. Friend, yes, you can respond to them right away, and you can also wait an hour to when it's a better time for you. And I think that's like just being mindful of it. I wasn't always like that. This is years and years and years of focusing on it, and trying to listen, right, and to not just wait my turn to talk, right, to like absorb the information that's coming to me and utilize it. But yeah, I think it's ultimately just about like really prioritizing your health. in that, and I do mean that in mental, physical, community, work, like all of those things that ultimately I think lead to, an overall happy life.
Imagine you turned up that day for the receptionist job and it had been a crystal company. So maybe
I would have fit right in.
well, absolutely. I don't know yes. What would have happened? It's yeah, I did like. Well, first of all, I like the fact that when it said it needs to be open-minded, your mind was as open as crystals and yolk. It's that.
Yeah, right.
The thought that it could be a porn company, it could be a sex toy company, it could be anything like that.
Yeah,
It worked out pretty well, it seems.
it did. It really, truly did.
Well, thank you so much for your time. You've opened my eyes, and I like how passionate you are about it, and how interesting the products are, and how much you love your job. And that's all we ever want, really. It's to do something that we enjoy, and we can hopefully make a difference. And what you're doing does make a difference. That's good.
Yeah, right. Like, wow, I truly like gratitude practice. Check. Like, how blessed am I? Like it's a good place to be.
It is. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for introducing me again to the Hungry Caterpillar. I was very excited to be that kind of role.
Glad you recognized it.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope you have a great day.
I will.
Take care.